I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. The city was electric as the University of Michigan men's basketball team scored their way into history during the 2026 National Championship game. The glory all culminated in a parade where fans reveled in the Wolverines' success. Ryan Smith has the details.
For the first time since 1989, the men's basketball team celebrated a national championship. This group set themselves among the greatest Michigan teams of all time by going 37-3 and 19-1 in the Big Ten this year. After 37 years, the men's basketball team finally delivered another national championship. I talked to fans before the parade to reflect on the championship season.
Because it's been so long. Like I remember watching the championship games in 92, 93 with my dad, and we lost, but it took a while, but we're here now. I get a chance to share this experience with my son. Hopefully he grows up to be a Michigan fan, and I'm excited.
There's just been so much hype around this team. Like everyone's been talking about it the entire season. Oh, Michigan's gonna get it all, like the entire year. It's been really exciting. Everyone had really, really high hopes for this group.
I had them all the way in my bracket, so it's not too much of a surprise, but I mean, watching them get past Arizona, that was I think that's what really secured the national championship.
There's been no kind of seed of a doubt with the way we've been winning, and I think that it's good. It brings positive attention, and I think that it also brings business to all the businesses and everything around here, so that's good.
A gorgeous spring day brought out Michigan fans of all ages, from the rooftops to the streets, including a Michigan sports celebrity.
Thank the team, not only Coach Dusty and all the players, but for us fans and alumni, it's really a great time for us to have the camaraderie and be able to be an alumni and support of the Block M and Michigan winning the national championship. It's tough in basketball, especially after 37 years. It's nice to be back and be on top.
Some fans I talked to feel the team can make it back to the Final Four, which will be hosted just down the road in Detroit next year. One thing's for sure, everywhere you went, the phrase of the day was,
Go Blue.
Go Blue!
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 Reporting for CTN, I'm Ryan Smith.
Ann Arbor has been on the cutting edge of environmental innovation since the 1970s, and now the city has an entire department dedicated to fighting for the protection of our planet and recently rolled out their own sustainable utility. And for 23 years, the city was lucky enough to have the unicorn that is Nancy Stone championing for a brighter tomorrow, an environmental educator who not only practices what they preach, but also a lifelong learner dedicated to keeping the earth clean for generations. Earlier this year, Nancy was honored as an Environmental Excellence Award winner for overall excellence through the Washtenaw County Water Resources Commissioner's Office. Welcome back to FYI, Nancy.
Thank you, Dana. So great to see you.
Yes, I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but what was that thing that when you were young and you were working and finding your place in this world, that was like that light bulb moment that made you want to do better for the world?
It's true. Well, in 1970, a zillion years ago, when I was a freshman at University of Michigan, that was when there was the Earth Day awareness, a teach-in on the environment. And it was across campus. Every discipline had workshops on it. It went a week long. It was throughout the community. I went to workshops at Pioneer High School. The library had speakers coming in from all over the country to raise the issues that we were facing and the solutions that were there if we just started to concentrate on them. It was truly inspiring.
I know it's crazy to think about that time in history because we've come so far from there where like people were polluting our waterways and throwing trash out their windows and all this stuff. And like now if you see someone do that, you're like, what is wrong with that person? And it's great to think about how much we've mentally changed in our heads to not allow these things to happen anymore.
Yeah. The Cuyahoga River in Ohio was famous for just burning nonstop from pollution, but also the Rouge River in Michigan had the same phenomenon going on. And so the extinction of animals, there was no, a Clean Air Act, no any of these kind of protections that came to the fore as a result of the momentum and the awareness for the environment. And maybe we're seeing another resurgence of that as people are seeing their responsibilities in tending to the environment and seeing what we can do together. For example, recycling was a real oddity. People had to take everything to a drop-off station.
I remember doing that myself as a young woman in Sterling Heights, where they didn't have it until recently, where the curbside recycling, where you would have to go. And a lot of people weren't doing it because it was just like that extra thing you had to do. You had to leave your house with your recycling. And so, yeah, you're talking about making something easy when it should be easy. It's the right move, right?
But what happened in 1988 was that there was a landfill shortage. The space was just being used up. Communities weren't permitting additional ones, and there were trash barges going up and down the ocean trying to find a place to dump their materials. And against that backdrop, the City of Ann Arbor had a solid waste plan series of public meetings that were also extremely inspiring. And the community showed up and filled standing room only in the basement of the public library and hammered out a solid waste plan and strategy that then resulted in the 1990s passage of the environmental bond. And the environmental bond went from providing for home collection from once a month to not even all the communities that had curbside pickup to once a week, to expanding to include all of the folks living in apartments and condominiums, which even at that time was over half of the population in Ann Arbor. And then also expanding the compost center. Fixing the leaking landfill that was going on that was causing future problems if we didn't address it right away. And then building the recycling plant and all sorts of things that allowed, that with public permission and public bonding money, set into motion a resource recovery team to work at the city, of which I was a part, a very fortunate part to be a support staff person to that effort.
You talk about your work with the city, and before that, you were with the Ecology Center. And I did not know this about you, but you were part of one of the first Michigan home toxics collection days. And now it's like those are just the norm. Now we're like, yeah, that's something that's part of our lives. It's so great to think about these things and how they actually came about, because you don't know. They're just there, right?
And the Washtenaw County was tremendous in figuring out how that could be operated. It was, a really new idea, and what would happen if you collected this materials. But also, in addition to the mechanics of operating it, there needed to be promotion. There also needed to be awareness of, these things we really don't want to have in our home, and where you'd have exposure to children, your pets, even the people using them. And then storage, are they a fire risk, a health risk? So increasing the awareness of these things aren't great. What are alternatives to it? And if you have them, how do you safely dispose of them? And what does constitute safe disposal? So even things like oil-based paints that were much more prevalent these many years ago, pose challenges. You don't want to just throw them in the trash, those cans of it, or pour it down the drains, or even pour it out back. You need to handle it correctly. And I think people have understood that now.
Yeah, and that's I think a big part of your career has been teaching people how to do the thing that's right for the environment. If you don't know how to do it, then you can't do it.
Yes. And I've been so fortunate that I've worked with tremendous colleagues and city council members that have supported these efforts. and advisory boards and teachers and students. Um, they have shown their interest in the topic, have many times initiated new projects, and and I've been able to be this thin little thread of being able to link some people together and to help promote these things, help them find funding, help them find the resources that they need to better define what they want to do and then move ahead with it. And that's been very, very exciting. But I've only played a small part in it. It was a wonderful position to be in to provide that kind of support, but it was really the community and the people within it that have made it all happen. And that's what's made this such fun, is to look back. I have the opportunity to look back over 40 years and see where we have come. It is inspiring.
Yeah, and then you get sad because you see some steps back, not necessarily in the city of Ann Arbor, but maybe at the national level with policies that you don't really like, and then you're like, okay, the fight never ends, right? The
Yeah,
fight always
it's true.
continues.
It's true. Like the Clean Air Act, that was a major accomplishment, and growing from that beginning, and now, yes, never can take things for granted. That's true.
No, I mean, and I think sometimes we are in this bubble that is Ann Arbor where we all care so much, and that when you leave, then you're like, I mean, you know what? One thing I thought about recently, when you stay at like a hotel room or something, why don't they have a recycle bin and a trash bin for you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like little things like that, where like, what's the next step for like businesses like that? Maybe in Ann Arbor they do. I don't know. I don't stay in a lot of hotels in my town, right? But just like things like that, where you're like, oh, you're so used to having these things like the recycle bin or your compost bin, and that when you're in a situation where you don't have it anymore, you almost don't know what to do. You don't want to throw it away.
Yeah, I end up taking it back.
Yes.
It's like you go hiking in the woods, you take it out with you.
Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
and try to avoid that kind of packaging, that reduce, reuse, recycle, that mantra. But it's true. It's something we can't assume everywhere, and you have to work towards keeping and sustaining it locally. I've been very impressed with what the City of Ann Arbor has been continuing to do with the sustainability initiatives and the support the community again has come forward and given to support bonds and special financing for these amazing projects. And lots of really inspired staff are there, and working again with their ambassadors that are community volunteers. It's great stuff. So it continues. And I'm very heartened to see that. And a lot of the nonprofits are still doing wonderful things, and in partnership with the city often. So things like the Huron River Watershed Council or Ecology Center, or the Interfaith Council for Peace and Justice worked with a project on composting, and got a little grant to pilot some ways to get greater participation in the neighborhoods for food waste composting, which is still relatively new to the community.
That was one of the things I did want to talk to you about, because I feel like a lot of the stuff I've learned when you were in the city was from you, because I didn't know all this stuff, because I came from a community that didn't do these things. And that composting aspect seems to be a big portion of how we're diverting stuff from the landfill, especially with the food waste now. Can you talk about that a little bit more, and what that means for you to see that happen?
Yes, yes. So, going back again to the environmental bond, and when the resource recovery team was hired, we had, along with the community in this broader community plan, had seen that for compost, so compostables, yard waste and food waste and other kinds of things that will biodegrade, that they took up quite a bit, like a quarter of the landfill space, which is ridiculous, because when you bury these materials underground and they decompose anaerobically without air, then it releases methane gas, which is 75% more deleterious, if you will, to the atmosphere and contributes to greenhouse gas 75% more than carbon dioxide. And, there's that scientific side of it that's just a waste of it, making a problem to our environment. And then there's taking up the landfill space that we want to preserve to have that last as long as possible. And then also it's just a waste in that the material that's rotting underground, if you decompose it in the surface where it gets oxygenated, it's a beneficial amendment to gardens, and you can make it at home, or you can let the city pick it up and compost it for you. But it was, like one of these light bulb moments that we knew that composting was an important piece to include in this waste reduction overall plan. And to that end, we at the city pulled together an advisory group, a resource. No, it was a recycling organics team known as ROT. And these folks were from all over, and had great skills and great passion. And the horticulturist in particular was looking at the previous way that composting was taught. And you'd have to have a textbook with charts that talk about what percentage of carbon to what percentage of nitrogen. And it was daunting at the least. And this person stepped back and said, if we just clump them together and call carbon things brown materials, nitrogen things green, which 90% of the time is truly accurate, then you've got just browns and greens. And your ratio of 2/3 brown to 1/3 green, add some water, some soil and air, and you've got your composting happening. And that just simplified the message, carried it forward, and caught fire, not only locally, but that approach I've seen go on nationwide. And even our little funny poem we came up to support it, I've seen come out on materials in print or online. And it's encouraging to see how people sitting together, looking together at issues can bring out the best in each other.
And we've seen that people are really composting over the winter now too, because now we get our monthly compost picked up in the winter. Because before that, I don't know if they felt like our carts were full enough, but I think the residents were like, our carts are full every month because we're composting the way we're supposed to be. And to me, I thought that was really great. I'm almost ready for them to start collecting a month earlier, if I'm being honest, like weekly.
Yeah, yeah. And adding food waste was a big step for a municipality to do. Certainly farmers do it and have been composting those materials, but to be within a urban community, to add the food waste, to move through pilots, which is another mechanism that we used, and check things, and we had support from Michigan State University, the agricultural college, to do analysis of what we were doing, and gave their blessing that this was going to work great. That all worked to be able to expand, to go from just yard waste, grass clippings and leaves and weeds and things like that, to add the whole food waste, including fish bones and chicken bones and watermelon rinds, things that are not recommended to compost at home, just because issues can arise, and you need to really be on top of the situation to have that be successful. Whereas the basic composting of yard waste is a snap. It's easy. It's instantly rewarding and pretty much issue free. But that exploration with the city and piloting and working with the compost operator has been allowed to just expand into the community at large and put it in your carts. And now year round, it's just wonderful. It is great.
I know. And I will say, everyone has food waste. Everybody does. There's no way around it. I try to use as much food as I can, but sometimes stuff expires or the kids don't eat everything on their plate. So I feel so much better about it, that it's not just going into that trash bag and it's going into my kitchen composter that'll eventually go into my cart. It just makes me feel better as a person, honestly.
Well, even things like banana peels and rinds and corn husks and all
Yeah,
of
like
that
stuff that you
stuff.
can't eat. Yes. Yes. I mean, I guess you could if you
I
wanted
know
to,
your
but
little one might like to give it a try.
so, it's been 12 years, Nancy. What have you been up to since retirement?
Um, well, for the first part of it, I continued to volunteer with Washington County, where they were going through their county solid waste plan upgrade, which the state requires every 5 or 10 years that you do that. And then there were various spin-off groups and educational groups that were involved in that. So I was volunteering with that. And then until just a few months ago, I was still active with master composting, which is again, this wonderful network of volunteer teachers that have been trained in composting and offer it locally. Um, and the partnerships that we've had with that have been just great with, of course, Washington County, City of Ann Arbor, Project Grow Community Gardens, Ann Arbor Public Schools, the parks. And then at the state level, there's been an increase to take the curriculum that had been developed here in Ann Arbor and then make it available as the statewide master composter manual, and then really explode with that and put together online master composter training that is, can reach anybody anywhere when they want to take it, which is great. And yet still there's at least once a year, the local volunteers are offering a course that's always fully attended and always get the most wonderful people showing up to share their enthusiasm with learning about composting and taking it to the next stage. Yeah. Oh, and then I'm just still volunteering a bit with Interfaith Council for Peace and Justice. They have a climate crisis group that you know glad to be joining them in this effort.
I really think it's such a beautiful thing to watch someone that has dedicated their whole career to something and then know when they leave that that dedication has never wavered.
Oh, I've been lucky to work in a field that has been, you know, challenging, at least because the issues are huge, but being able to see how you can break it down into pieces that you can work towards solving it. It and people working together to contribute their insights and just keep up the good fight, if you will.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's like one step at a time. It's a big picture, but you have to take it one tiny step at a time to get where you need to be.
Yeah. Yep. But then there's a cascading effect or the tipping point where you think about home composting and then it starts going till it's statewide and then national. And certainly it's been lots of people everywhere working on the same issue. But when that comes together, there's a true momentum to it. And you could see it with recycling and now reducing and repairing things, the workshops that are going on and the little shops that are opening up around town that offering tools and training for people to create their own things, fix their own things, build it.
Yeah, we
And
do monthly clothing swaps now. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's really the sky's the limit when you really start thinking about what you can be doing. Can you
Mhm.
talk about, we mentioned earlier that you were honored as an overall leadership in the Environmental Excellence Award by the Washtenaw County Water Resources Commissioner's Office. So why don't you talk about that a little bit and what that means to you, having all these, what'd you say, 40 years?
In the field.
Yeah.
Well, it's truly humbling because I feel like I was in the right place at the right time to help facilitate, but that couldn't be done. It's not like I was the person or I was the administrator. It just was, it's actually very fun and joyful to work with folks that are interested in solving these issues and working together. And so Washtenaw County has always been something that's a place that um, additional voices to complement and enhance what was going on at the City of Ann Arbor. Um, and, I've worked with on programs that were with the county as the city representative to it. But, we're looking over 40 years. So, some of the programs that we developed were recycling telephone books, collecting and
Oh, yeah.
taking them. And, what an outdated kind of thing to be working on. But at the time, it was an enormous waste of these huge telephone
I
books.
mean, that
And
wasn't even that long ago. I've lived in this house for 12 years. I know when I first lived in this house, I was getting phone books still.
yeah. And then there were more than two companies that were putting them out and delivering them to every address. And at the time, recycling was still trying to figure out how to recycle something that wasn't just flat newspaper, something that came in a magazine type form with
Mhm.
inks and not inks, but the glues and the spines and
And the
all of that.
glossies and all that. Yeah.
So, we were able to find an insulation company that did paper insulation blowing into homes, but wanted telephone books. Those were perfect. It was something they could shred and use, and so it kept it very local, and it expanded from there. All we had to do is pilot it a couple of years, and then it just became an integral part of regular recycling programs. But you had to take a chance and do some research and build some partnerships, and then it was off. And then, honestly, that they're gone, I'm not bemoaning, because that was a huge use of paper, and
You did the
it,
right thing. I'm telling you, when I first moved in and I was like, why am I still getting phone books? Everyone has the internet now.
yeah, 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 and it changes so fast. That yeah, it was good. So we did things like that at the county, and we also did a Sharps return program. Started one of those that so for people that aren't familiar with it, people who are insulin dependent need to not only inject their serums as needed, but they need to do blood tests throughout the day. And so there's all these little sharp things that we really don't want to have just laying around the house, again, to be at exposure to your family and your pets and all. But also you don't want them just thrown in the trash, where trash collectors can be moving them about and getting stuck, or just throwing them out casually and all. So came up with a program that the pharmacies, the interested pharmacies, would make available, providing Sharps containers. And then when those were full, you could take them back to the pharmacies and have them properly disposed of. And that then mushroomed into also taking medical materials. But what part of our research showed is that people that are buying their insulin needles and supplies at that time, 30 years ago, were also spending $30 a trip when they were buying their materials. So they were very good customers. And if there were incentives for them to come back to your pharmacy more often, it was a good business decision to provide this service as well, this disposal service. So it was, as we worked together and saw through more of what was the issue, it just fell into place and made such obvious sense.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN and visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.